So you've come up with a terrific brand and a great logo. And now what you want to do is start to put your new logo onto packaging. Maybe you want to create a beer or can or a round shape. In SketchUp, it's a bit of a trick, and I want to just kind of walk you through the process of doing that. So I'm sharing my screen, and we're going to go to Illustrator first, because that's where we got a logo, and that's why you would create your logo here rather than in SketchUp or something like that. As you can see, it's all converted to paths, and I've got a shape here. Earlier, I made another video about how to take this into SketchUp as a push-pull surface, which is cool. And there's another video about that. Today, what I want to do is just show you how to take this and put it onto a side of a curved surface, like a can. So here's my logo. I am going to export it as a PNG or a JPEG file. It's raster when it gets in there. So if I say here, I'm going to make this Jack's logo PNG. I'm just going to change this because I've already got one going. Jack's 2 PNG. So there, I'm going to export that. Because PNG has a transparent channel in it, I've got, as you can see, there's my logo, and there's the transparent part. That checkerboard part is a transparent part. If I find myself needing to get something better, I can change my resolution here when I output the PNG file. Okay, now what I need to do is go into SketchUp. Here's my can that I want to put that onto. And you can imagine I'm going to go into my import menu and get my logo and say Jack's 2. Did I already pass it? I must have already passed it. Jack's 2 PNG. So I'll get that and import it, and it won't work. I can say use as a texture, but it still won't work because it won't attach to a curved surface. I'll stick it on there and it's like, oh, that's not cool. So that's what doesn't work. So what you have to do, here's this tricky business, this weird thing you have to do. I'm going to build a rectangle in space in front of my can, like that, just standing there. And then this is the surface that I'm going to use to project that logo onto that. So now I can come back here and say import Jack's 2 PNG, use as texture. If I bring it in as an image, I can put it on the wall or something like that, but it doesn't do this trick. So I need to use it as a texture. Import that, I come to my rectangle and I say, put it here and make it, however big I want it to make it, going that big. And it fills the whole thing. It tiles the information. So if you don't want it tiled, I'll show you in just a minute how not to do that. But that's how the PNG works, and that's how the projection business works, the texture works. If you don't like the way that looks, you can Control-click on this thing and get into your texture here and say, I want to change the position of it. The green one will give you control over the size, the rotation. You can do lots of pretty cool stuff on this. So if I do that and say, yes, now I'm happy with how that looks. I'm not yet, but I'll show you in a minute. So now what I can do is say, I want this texture to be projected. So I have to tell it that this texture is a projected texture. I have to go back into that same menu, right click on the shape, go to texture, and then hit projected. And then I get my paint bucket, lives up here, or it's over here next to the eraser tool, either one. And I need to sample this texture. And the way to do that on a Mac, I hold down the Command key, and it turns into an eyedropper. If you're on a PC, it's the Alt key. So click there. Now what it's done is loaded up that sample that I took of this texture into the paint bucket. And then I can come over here to the paint bucket and say, ploop, fill that, pour that texture onto this surface. And the kind of remarkable thing is now I can get rid of this whole thing. I don't need it anymore. Except I don't like the way this looks. It kind of, it wraps around backwards on the back. It's got some problems. So what I'd rather do is have this just one logo on there. So let me just undo that last thing I did, and I'll show you another way to do it. Back to Illustrator. Here's my Jack's logo. Instead of exporting it just like this by itself, I'm going to put a big fat gray box around the outside of it, like that, or maybe a pink box. That would be pretty spectacular, wouldn't it? So now if I get that and then change my fill color to medium gray, beer can gray color. Now, if I export this, I can save it as a PNG or as a JPEG, either one. I'm going to use a JPEG this time just to show you the difference. It's not much difference. JPEG there gives me a little bit of a different menu here. Jack's logo JPEG, sure, what the heck, I can replace that one. Make sure you're working in RGB. CMYK ends up looking weird in your in SketchUp. So RGB 7, why not? Sure. Again, there's my resolution. I can change it there if I want to. Okie dokie. Now back to SketchUp, and you already know what's going to happen. Now import Jack's logo JPEG. There it is on my big gray square. Import me. Click here on this shape and drag it up. And now it's tiling still, but it's tiling on that one thing. And as you know, I can right click on this or control click and play with the texture, the position, rearrange things. But now I've got a lot more room to play with. So if I wanted to do that and have Jack's logo vertically on the side of the can with no competition, I can do that. So then once I've got that and I'm happy with that, I can then go and say, good, paint bucket, sample, and then dump onto here. And now you can see I've got really one logo showing up on there instead of all the other ones. So you might find yourself, you might have to change the shape of this a little bit to get this to work just right, but it's a pretty good little trick. And now what you've got is your logo saved on a curved surface in SketchUp. And as I say, once you're done with that, you can throw the projector away. It's already a projected image. It's going to stay right where it is. Hope that helps. If you need me to make a video for you about the thing that you're wondering about, let me know.